Masonic News Extra. It's been reported by Pennsylvania authorities that although engaged in an extended vacation, it appears as if Larry Maris has not yet critically injured himself. New Hampshire authorities inform us that in a rare example of good judgment, Larry opted out of a boat excursion that could surely have ended in catastrophe. Meanwhile, it is expected that Masonic Lite Podcast crew will produce an exemplary show in his absence, lending credence to the periodic rantings of Jeff Moyer and his deep respect for Brother Maris. Enjoy your vacation, Brother Larry, and keep your friggin' head down. That's the Masonic News Extra. So mote it was.
You're listening to the Masonic Lite Podcast. Starring Pete Ruggieri, Larry Maris, and Jason Lewis. This podcast is not endorsed by any Grand Lodge, and the ridiculous ramblings of the hosts are their own. So sit back and enjoy some Masonic conversation without pretension. And now, here's your hosts, Pete, Larry, and Jason.
And Jack.
Hey, that's me.
And welcome. We're here at Masonic Lite Podcast, episode number 53.
Ooh, 53.
53, and we're recording this on Memorial Day, and the one veteran on our show is not here.
It's not Veterans Day though; it's Memorial
Day,
right?
Yeah. So
hashtag know the difference.
But he's okay. He hasn't gotten injured yet. But we'll see.
I mean,
there's a news article about that.
there's still a few hours left in the day for Larry to become a.
So here we are. We have a guest today, Brother Dan Madrigal of Effort Lodge number 665.
Hey,
he
right.
he carpooled in with Jack Harley, and
He's walking home though.
So Dan, I think you listened, but just in case, what we do is we go around, we discuss what we've done over the past 2 weeks since we recorded last, and we include you in that, and then we'll come back to you later as the guest. But I always start with Jason. He's never ready, so we'll start with Jack.
What?
Jack, what have you done Masonically the past couple weeks?
Nothing. Over to you.
You've got a lot going on. Well, no,
All right. So, in all seriousness, we as you heard, if you listen, we had the new studio project approved at Effort Lodge. So we're going to be moving our fabulous recording studio from Monarch Studios at Pete's house to an actual studio at Effort Lodge 665. And I guess the handle so far is shaping up to be Studio 665, which
is professional enough that it won't scare advertisers away. We can't say under the liquor store.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
I like it a lot. It's kind of a throwback, to the 70s, and that's good too. But in order to do this, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, but in order to do this, there are expenses. And those of you who have been Masonic Lite listeners for a long time understand that we do this because we love it. There's no money in this for us, but there are going to be expenses that are going to come up. So we're gonna hit you up. We're not going to do the NPR thing, but
I was going to say we're going to sound like NPR.
It's way too easy to turn the channel on a podcast. Yeah. So, but we are going to ask you if you love what we do, to please consider jumping on our GoFundMe page and maybe throw us a couple of bucks. If everybody who listens threw us $2, $3, $4, we'd have plenty of money to do what we need.
We'd have $4.
Right. Yeah. And, we have a local listener, Scott, who doesn't want any attention. So we'll just use his first name. But he actually is offered to do all the electrical work at no charge.
He has.
And that's amazing.
However, we're going to have to pay for the electrical stuff, right?
Correct.
So there's an expense there. And we have another brother who's a painter, and he's offered to do the painting for us. Guess who that would be?
Buy extra job cloths if you hired Scott.
Oh, that's not very nice.
No, we love Scott. We love Scott.
Well, Scott fell off of a ladder, so...
Yeah, how's he doing? He fell like 15 feet.
Yeah, the report seems to be that he's doing fine.
Drop cloths and bandages?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Not that he's a sloppy painter. It's just you never know.
Do we need renter's insurance, especially now?
We need contractors insurance. So anyway, that's going to come up in a little bit. But in the meantime, I'm just loving life.
So for a very short window of time, we'll actually be able to say the only Masonic podcast coming from a real studio until somebody else gets a better studio.
Yeah, and somebody probably already has.
Yeah.
But anyway, we may be the only one coming from an actual Masonic lodge.
The I can't think of the name of it right now. It's the Southern Masonic jurisdiction, Scottish Rite. Theirs is recorded right
Out of the temple?
House of the temple,
yeah, but that's a paid position, and he's doing the thing because that's his job. And he does a great job. I mean, notwithstanding.
What's this? Maynard something. Or something Maynard. Drawing a blank. I'm so sorry. We're friends on Facebook. That's terrible.
Anything else, Jack? Anything you want to talk about with your AMD stuff? We'll talk about that later.
Masonic stuff? No, we'll talk about that later, yeah.
All right, Dan, Brother Dan. What have you done Masonically the past couple weeks?
Last couple of weeks, it's just been monthly meeting of Alto Meridiano Masonic Club, which is one of the topics that we may talk about in this podcast.
Well, hopefully. Anyway.
And that's about it. I mean, I was in the Denver Memorial Day Parade today because I deal with the Cub Scouts also.
Okay, so you marched as a Cub Scout leader?
Yes.
Den leader? Or?
I'm the assistant Cub master of Pack 132, Denver, PA.
Such pride. You should see his face.
Yes.
Such pride. It's awesome.
Hoorah.
There you go.
Yeah. I gave the Scout salute because I'm a failed Star Scout.
Awesome.
Jason?
Well, let's see. What have I done? I think since our last episode, we were just talking about Scottish Rite reunion in Harrisburg, but it actually happened. It was a good reunion. And then also in the Valley of Lancaster, got installed as senior warden. So 2 more years until I'm in the East there. And that's really about it. Had an extra meeting at Lodge 43. We did 2 Master Mason degrees, but they were both kind of special because the one gentleman had a surprise visitor, his first line signer, still a member of our lodge, moved years ago to New Mexico and flew in and surprised them.
Was he one of the New Mexico guys that came to our breakfast?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Same guy. And the timing wasn't right. He couldn't join you guys for breakfast. I, of course, wasn't there. But
Officially.
right. And but it was nice. He surprised them. It was a nice surprise. And then the other Master Mason is either married to or going to be married to or is just dating at the moment one of our regional school of instructors' daughters. So the regional instructor happened to be a member of our lodge, so he conferred all 3 of his degrees. But for his Master Mason degree, he brought 2 of his other regional instructor friends, and they all came in and they sat in the warden's chairs as well, and they did one of their lodges, one of their other lodges, Bible presentation. Bible presentation is kind of unregulated, and different lodges have different presentations. So they did a nice presentation. So that was pretty special. For those of you that don't belong to Pennsylvania or don't have regional schools, or we have our district school of instruction, and then we also have a regional level as well. So those guys didn't drive from right around the corner. They're spread out across the state. So that's pretty cool. That's about it.
Very cool. My 2 weeks, I guess the big thing, I went to the Valley of Reading, and I didn't think I was going to be officially anything happen, but because I was asked to be in line for the Rose Croix line. So my position, I guess, technically isn't an appointed position, but they still brought me up on stage and they had to take the oath. So I am now the acolyte in the Reading's Valley Rose Croix chapter. So there's a lot of guys, like Seth is in that line. A lot of guys that you may know if you know the show. So that's pretty cool. And then a couple days later, I was at the Harrisburg Junior Senior Night for Tall Cedars, and that was a good time. Just fun, frolic, and fellowship, as they say in the Tall Cedar
And
forest.
they do actually say that.
They do.
I was going to say our part-time contributor Jeffrey S. Moyer is also a past Most Wise Master out of that line.
And Jeff was a big help. And I know, like, Jeff is also an instructor, and he met with you and helped you a lot in your degree, learning your degrees. He also offered to help me because apparently this year is Acolyte, or Easter 2019 is Acolyte. I don't have any words. I just have to walk on stage, light some candles, and get out. But apparently next year, I have like the second longest part in the whole degree. So I'm supposed to start learning this 18 months out.
That's that eye contact.
That's not daunting at all. But so he said, yeah, he'd work with me on that on Thursday mornings. Nice. So that's just, we do a lot of joking around here, especially at Jeff's expense. But, I really appreciate that.
Yeah, we've been meeting, for the last 2 years, 2 degrees in, working on the third and all the other stuff as well. Oh, we also, are we allowed to talk about what we did on Wednesday? I know we mentioned it a little bit, but we had our last organizational meeting for the hopefully new AMD council that Jack is chartering along with eight other men who are all Archmasons. So that's pretty exciting. And yeah,
that's really cool.
I thought that would be more exciting.
Yeah, it's kind of like.
Well, you can dub in some applause or something. All right, everybody. We'll take a quick break, and we're going to come back with Brother Dan Madrigal of Ephrata Lodge. Dan's got a lot of stuff going on, but one of his big claims of fame that we're kind of going to talk about today is he's part of a movement that wants to bring a Spanish-speaking lodge to the Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania. And let's go to break.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We're here today, and we have with us a guest, Dan Madrigal. And Dan is a member of my lodge, Ephrata 665, as you heard. And Dan is involved in a project to try to charter a new lodge in the state of Pennsylvania, which is not an easy thing. Dan, you want to tell us a little bit about what you're trying to do?
Okay. So right now we are together as a Masonic club. It's called Alto Meridiano Masonic Club. Alto Meridiano means high meridian in Spanish. And the goal of the club is to charter the first Spanish-speaking lodge under the Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania. It's been an ongoing project for quite a few years. I think the first meeting was in 2012. I first heard of the project because they got a brief mention in the November 2012 Pennsylvania Freemason magazine, and that's how I learned about the project. And they had a contact info, and I contacted Brother Basilio Vega, who is leading this effort.
Now, is he going to be listening to this podcast? Because we have to be careful.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay, I'm not sure. So basically, I started going to the meetings since 2013, and. It's 2018 and we still don't have a lodge.
So that's tough. I mean, it's tough to charter a lodge in Pennsylvania. When we look at some of our European brethren, especially in the UK, they have lodges pop open and act for a while, and then they close and they pass their charter in, and then another one pops open, and it seems to be not sort of a big deal. But in Pennsylvania, you're seeing something different.
Yeah, it's a complex issue. I guess the first big challenge is we need 40 members who are willing to be charter members.
And that's a dispensation, right? Usually it's more than that.
Correct. Usually it's 50.
Yeah.
So Grand Lodge has given us a dispensation that we can start with 40. However, the 40 members need to be bilingual. And, to get 40 bilingual already Master Masons, who are willing to show up and pay dues and stuff, and then to find 3 of them that are past masters willing to be, the senior warden, junior warden, and worshipful master of the first year. That's where we're having the troubles right now.
So are you reaching out? Are you making any proactive efforts to bring people in? I know it kind of, after a while of trying and not quite getting there, you sort of
Yeah, there's
soften
a
little
bit of a
Yeah.
stalling, and like obviously, in the first years we had a couple of mentions in the Pennsylvania Freemason magazine. We tried to get word of mouth going. A lot of the brothers are around the Philly area, and they actually went to a program in Channel 6 in Philly. And they were interviewed there by a program that normally talks about, I think, Puerto Rican issues. It's kind of like a community outreach thing. And, they talk there.
I'm actually from that area. I think it's Puerto Rican Panorama.
Yes.
Because I just remember seeing it on Channel 6 WPVI
Yes.
when I was growing up.
That
There
is
we go.
correct. That is correct.
Nice.
So there's been outreach like that. There's a magazine out in Philly that does yearly. They do some kind of awards of recognition around the Hispanic, business community, and the club has purchased advertisements in the magazine or handout that they have there, and just we've been trying to do it word of mouth, and there's interest in with brothers from New Jersey. There's a few brothers from Delaware, and I met, I think, 3 or 4 brothers who are actually from Venezuela who are now in Pennsylvania because of all the political issues in Venezuela. They now live here, and they have expressed interest in joining.
Oh yeah, suck them up. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, it's they are one of the most enthusiastic because right now they have they're without a Masonic home, to put it one way.
Right.
Yeah.
So a couple of years ago, when you first made this known to me, it sounded like there was a lot of enthusiasm and there was a lot of forward push, and then it sort of slacked a little bit now. Do you feel it? Do you feel like gaining momentum? Do you feel like you're getting ready to break the tape?
I'm hoping so. This year we had meetings almost like 3 times a month at Grand Lodge to practice the ritual in Spanish. So that was good to get the people who are eventually going to be the officers. That's a lot of momentum there. But that's not 40 people, which is what Grand Lodge wants to see.
You're going to write the book? Is it going to be purple? Or are you going to have? I don't like the book. Never mind. That's a different story.
Yeah, it's a different story.
But they're working on it. You guys have translated the ritual into Spanish.
Yes, there's been translation work done. The translation was given to Grand Lodge, who will give it to people who will corroborate the translation, and then they'll give us a yay or a nay, I guess. On the
Excellent.
So they
translation work.
need to find some bilingual Masons who are also very fluent in 2 languages, like
So a
extremely
broad
fluent.
appeal to the Spanish-speaking Masons around. Yeah, we need your help in a couple of different ways. Yeah,
That's true. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you, if you can get 25 men, you can have a Spanish-speaking grotto. And
Hey, that
I can
might be
help
our
you
plan
with
B. 'Cause
wow. And you can read the ritual.
I know who could be your district deputy would be. Yeah, that'd be Pete.
Hey, that might be a good plan B, I guess.
Hey,
'cause-
bring them in, have some social stuff, and then develop it off of that. That's not a bad plan either.
Yeah, because I know I grew up in Kennett Square, where there's a lot of Mexican Americans and a lot of Puerto Rican Americans. I guess Puerto Ricans are Americans, but Americans
that
of
is
Puerto
correct.
Americans of Puerto Rican descent.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, so I know there would be some interest there. So yeah, if we can help, I'll help.
So how many committed do you have now?
Bloat the number.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah.
Inflate
Well,
it. Go
it's
ahead.
no. I mean,
7,000.
We have
members.
200,000 fans, according to Larry.
yes. There you go. Well, I'll say this. I have a list of 70 people. Not everybody has paid the full dues we have asked of people. Some people have paid full. Some people have made some payments to it. Not all those 70 are bilingual. So that's part of the challenges. Yeah.
Now, the requirements that Grand Lodge has given you is that the first 40 are bilingual. After that, though, what would the requirement be?
That's a good question. I guess the requirement as it is right now is the first 40 charter members, have to be bilingual. The first, the officers have to be passed, has that requirement. And the whole issue of the 40 charter members being bilingual is to ensure that we have a line that can continue still being bilingual.
Right.
But once you're a lodge, you're a lodge. It'd be up to us to keep you know, the people who we initiate make sure they're bilingual or something like
How
that.
bilingual?
That's a good question, right?
Because I don't mean this. I mean, I don't mean it to be insulting, but I mean, I've had 5 years of Spanish. I'm horrible at it. Apparently, I'm really good after a few drinks,
There you
but
go.
that's frowned upon by the
You're
lodge.
not as good as you think.
Yeah, but this will be Grand Lodge, so no.
But
alcohol,
it would
right?
it would be tough. It would be tough not being
Yeah.
truly bilingual and being, you know, an elected officer.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if there was a question from the floor about. I'd be okay with the ritual. I could memorize that, but
Right.
if somebody asked me a question,
Masonic law or edicts or
I
whatever.
would have to defer to a native Spanish speaker.
How do you say pancake in Spanish? Is it the same?
I think it's still pancake.
Pancake. Okay.
Yeah,
As long as you can say that, then you can have a lodge.
Yeah.
because pan is bread.
Yes, it's true. That is true.
So maybe that qualifies me for something.
Hey,
I don't know.
you're in. You're Tyler right now,
Yes.
officially.
And how close are you to getting the masters and wardens?
For that, we're very close. I think the biggest challenge right now is to get the 40 people to actually show up 40 at a time to the meetings. Our meetings haven't hit 40.
Right.
And that's one of the things Grand Lodge wants to see.
They want to see 40 people
They want to see
coming
40
to the-
people coming regularly to the meetings of the club.
And will you take anybody from anywhere as long as they can make those meetings? I mean, if somebody is listening from Pittsburgh and has an interest and is willing to make the 6-hour drive,
Honestly, yes. I mean, it's the requirement is to be a master. Right now, it's to be a master mason.
But the idea is your charter will be for the city of Philadelphia. Is that where you're looking to be?
Yes, the idea right now is to charter and actually use one of the Grand Lodge rooms as the lodge meeting. Yes.
So, tell us a little bit about your Masonic history. You were made a Mason in Mexico originally.
Yes, that's true.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so I was in college. That was back in 1995 when I got my first degree, and my Master Mason degree I got in 1996. In Mexico, blue lodges are already divided into whether you're York Rite or Scottish Rite. My lodge was ancient and accepted Scottish Rite. I'm from the state of Baja California, which is just south of California. In my family, my grandpa was a Mason, but he died before I was born, so I never met him. But there is some tradition of Masonry in the family. And during that time that I was still in Mexico, I went through the chairs. I was junior ward. Well, first I was secretary, then I was junior warden, senior warden, and then I was worshipful master.
First, you were secretary, and
Yeah.
then junior warden.
Yeah.
Wow.
Can you imagine
Okay.
that? Actually,
Sounds like Jason. Yeah.
It's like Jason's got that. Yeah, we've
Well,
heard that story.
They actually started me as it was a small lodge, you can tell. They started me as secretary when I was still a fellow craft.
That sounds like Brother Kipling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And then eventually, I got my Master Mason's degree, and then I went through the chairs. Eventually, when I came to the U.S., I went to school in Illinois, and I took a cab to a lodge and knocked on the door and said, "Hi, I want to visit here." And lo and behold, my lodge wasn't recognized. So that kind of put a damper on the whole transition into a U.S. lodge. And I lived in Illinois for a while, and I just, with school and everything, I didn't pursue, just trying to join in,
It's a lot to do.
in Illinois, yeah. And then I lived in California for a while. I actually started to contact a lodge there to try to join, but honestly, by the time they contacted me back, I was already living in Pennsylvania. So
That was Lambert Lodge. There.
Yeah.
something like that. It was a lodge in San Diego, actually, but I don't know what their deal was. So here in Pennsylvania, in similar fashion, just my lodge from Mexico wasn't recognized, and at that point, it's already been 6 years since I left. I wasn't paying dues there or anything like that, so I just joined here from the get-go as an entered apprentice.
Yeah, I think you were already a Master Mason before I realized that you were also a past master already. Yeah.
Kind of that's true. That's true. I joined Effort Lodge in 2007.
and you had to go through your degrees again.
Yes. Yes.
Very cool. So, as for what you can, we don't want you to ruin your oaths and obligations, but what are some of the biggest differences between the Freemasonry you were in Mexico versus American, or we won't say American, Pennsylvania
Freemasonry.
Pennsylvania Freemasonry.
Well, in Pennsylvania, we say all the ritual by memory. In Mexico, you are not obligated to do it by memory. You are allowed to read if need be. A lot of the lodges are small, so you end up having a lot of people having to sub in. So you just have to read it because you couldn't really know all the ritual. The master usually has it by memory, just because he's been doing it for all those years. The rites of initiation are different. They're more elaborate. There's more to do before you enter the lodge.
More like I would say like pledging. Like they make you be more of a, I don't know, like like I it's like when
Socially
pledging my
active.
fraternity, I was like a slave for 6 weeks.
The older guys would talk about that kind of stuff. When I joined, it was like I said, 1995. That was gone. But for example, if the initiation started at 8, they would ask you to the building like at 6, and they would blindfold you once you get there, and then they would like on purpose just have you walk all over the place to really have you disoriented. You don't know what you're going. Because you're not in the lodge, there's more like a little bit of like teasing and stuff like that. Like, watch out for the hatchet or whatever. And you're like, what's going on here? But obviously there's no hatchet or anything like that. But closer to the time of the actual initiation, then it gets serious and they actually put you in a reflection room, which we don't have in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. And then there's ritual with that.
Right.
Yeah.
Grand Master of New Jersey has just issued an edict that the lodges in New Jersey are permitted to use the Chamber of Reflection.
Okay.
It's not a requirement yet.
Okay.
But lodges that want to.
Yeah.
I met the Grand Master of New Jersey. He doesn't remember it because he met a few thousand other people. But I was down at Tall Cedars a couple weekends ago. And he gave a really nice speech, and we made him a tall cedar at sight.
Okay.
So he is now a tall cedar as well.
Yeah. And I actually, while I'm still living in Mexico, I visited a lodge in a different state, and it just so happened that several of the brothers there were from the Air Force, and it just so happened that when I visited there, they were having an initiation. And he wasn't a brother then. The person who was going to join, they had him doing push-ups and whatnot because, they're all from the Air Force. And he didn't know, so he was blindfolded and doing push-ups.
Jason, drop and give me 20 right now.
No.
There you go.
So now once you joined, I guess how did you get to Ephrata? How does
222 North.
There you go.
Yeah.
how do you go from like Illinois to California or Mexico to California, Illinois, Ephrata?
Okay. Illinois is easy. That's school, University of Illinois. And that's where I met my now wife. Okay. We got married in Illinois. We lived there for a while. And then to be closer to my family, we moved to California. And I worked there for a while. And then we had our first kid. And then she said, well, now I want to be close to my family because we just had a kid. And so that's why we moved out here.
Very cool. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk a little bit more about all this stuff.
And we're back. We're back with Dan Madrigal, who is in the process of, along with several other guys from the Philadelphia area, trying to charter a Spanish-speaking lodge that would be meeting at the Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania. So, Dan, any other thoughts on that subject for now? We're here to help you any way we can. We'll get more to that later.
Well, I would ask all your thousands of listeners.
Thousands, dozens at least.
Thousands at least. If you have an interest, if you can think of anybody that might have an interest that's Spanish speaking and already a brother or thinking of joining even, getting in touch with us, please.
So the first requirement is that they must be a Spanish speaking Master Mason right now. Right, that in order to get your charter. That's
in order to get the charter,
have
yes.
40.
Yes, we have to have 40 Master Masons who speak Spanish.
Bilingual. Well, they can't just be Spanish speaking, right? They have to speak English and Spanish.
The officers have to be bilingual, but for the charter, you can just speak Spanish, actually, because it's a Spanish-speaking lodge. Yeah.
So we need a bunch of Spanish-speaking Masons to get in touch. So
yes.
We're going to do this a couple of different ways. We're going to put up a link on our website, or at least if you'd like to send us a message on our Facebook page.
Masonic Lite Podcast at Gmail will also work.
Masonic Lite Podcast at gmail.com.
Correct.
Because, Larry would get that wrong. So we can forward that message along. Or, Dan, you've got, I think, a Gmail address that you're accepting inquiries to, correct?
Yes, you can contact me at damaoj@gmail.com. So that's the letters Delta, Alpha, Mike, Alpha, Oscar, Juliet @gmail.com.
Okay, that's got to be short for something. Dan.
OJ.
Orange juice.
Orange juice. Dan's orange juice. And okay, I don't know what that was, but anyway, I hope you wrote it down. Now, go ahead, Pete.
No, and just to we want to make sure these people aren't lying. So could you give us an appeal in Spanish to the to make sure that if they can't understand this, they probably shouldn't call, or no?
Okay, muy bien. Para todos los hermanos de habla hispana, o si tienen algún conocido de habla hispana, somos el Club Masónico Alto Meridiano. Estamos trabajando para formar la primera logia de habla hispana en el Gran Oriente de Pensilvania.
So we weren't lying. It's really true.
See? If you just joined us.
You just started this second.
It's Telemundo Masonica.
Now Larry would probably say we can now claim that we're the first bilingual podcast because
let the
30 seconds in Spanish.
Hey, there you go.
3 years.
Let the record show I just missed a phone call from Larry Maris, who is on vacation right now.
You know what's going to happen, Dan, is, there's going to be another powwow session that Jack and I aren't invited to, and you're all of a sudden going to get sequestered to do a segment for this show. So just a heads up.
Just a heads up.
Okay.
Yeah, less than 5 minutes in Spanish, something humorous
There we go.
and Masonic.
Okay, so did I just make eye contact? Is that what happened?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. Call it the Mexican Minute.
Oh, jeez.
Minuto Mexicano.
Minuto Mexicano. So we already got a name for it, huh? Okay.
That's it.
It's already canon. I think this will work. I mean, I do. I mean, I feel bad that you guys have had like the hiccups, but we're naturally quiet as Freemasons, and
Yes.
maybe now with things like our podcast and just our big mouths on Facebook, we can probably get this word out a little bit better.
We had talked about diversity in Lodge a couple episodes ago.
Absolutely, we did, yeah.
And, I'd be curious, Dan, what do you think that we could do better in our lodges to attract a broader reach of men, especially, a diverser.
Diverser?
A more
Grammatically correctical?
No, a more
Diversier. I think that's
a more diverse, cross section of the population.
I guess. It's.
I'm gonna cut in just because you're stammering.
Okay, sorry.
Have you ever, in your time at Ephrata Lodge, have you ever been made to feel uncomfortable?
No.
No, that's not what this is about, right? This is about taking a brother and making him a part of your family, and that's what you're trying to do.
Yes.
And what all of us try to do.
But I just look at the math. Like, Latino is the fastest growing part of our population in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's it's huge. And if all of these Masonic groups are constantly bitching and whining about not having enough members and losing members,
here's a big pool to swim in. Yeah.
It just it honestly
group of
doesn't
great
make
men.
It doesn't make any sense to me, especially in this part of town. And I know that Lancaster is not the only city across America that has a heavy Latino population. I just I don't think that we're.
Well, I heard somewhere. I think when I was running for mayor, the city of
Wait,
He really did run for mayor.
Hang on. Rewind. Can you say that again?
That's a story for another day.
Oh, okay.
The city of Lancaster is 52 or 53% Hispanic. And it blows my mind because you wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
But, and I used to try and tell people, like, if these guys could show up at the polls, you'd all be out of a job. Because it's the silent majority in this city. And I think in cities across Pennsylvania. So I think that's a group we need to tap into.
Do we have a perception problem in the Hispanic community? Is that what would you say?
I mean, that might be part of it. And I think I don't know, people who are already in the lodge, maybe when they know somebody from work or their neighbor or whatnot, maybe they don't think about asking Hispanic people because there's like, if nobody else in the lodge is Hispanic, maybe they'll think, well, he'll feel uncomfortable or something like that, right?
But he should ask.
But he should ask.
Right.
That's the whole point.
Now, but you said at dinner earlier, I asked, because, Jack was just in Italy, and you wouldn't know a lodge unless you were in the lodge, because they keep everything very quiet and very secretive. But in Mexico, it's not that way. The lodges are very well labeled, and there's not a stigma any worse than the United States.
Correct. It's just like the U.S. I mean, there are some people who are against it, but the lodge buildings are clearly labeled. They're they have their names and whatnot on the actual building. They actually participate in parades and whatnot. So there's a public facing of the lodges in Mexico.
Well, in South America, there's actually a country named after a famous Mason. So go figure.
There you go.
So do you
Bolivia.
guys
Be Bolivia?
That would be Bolivia, named after Brother Simón Bolívar. Yes.
So do you guys do fundraisers? Do you have pancake fundraisers?
In the club, not yet.
It's
no.
flautas. It's a whole different thing.
Okay, because
Well, you know what? We have brothers from all over, so it couldn't be just flautas.
Listen,
We'd have
I got
more.
it.
That's true.
Yeah.
I got it. This is how we're going to get bilingual people in lodge. We're going to have an all-you-can-eat empanada lunch.
That will get us there.
that would just get fat Americans. So, okay, but we're joking, but you brought up a good point. Like, there's, especially Americans, we like to just lump Hispanic into one group.
That's true.
It's so many different countries and so many different cultures.
Yes.
And even like in Mexico, I mean, no different than the United States where...
Oh, yeah, state by state.
Yeah, no different where like a New Yorker and a Texan and a Californian walk into a bar. It's
Correct.
a joke.
It's a joke. Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So, what kind of challenges have you had? Have you had any challenges with people from different countries and different backgrounds, or your common denominator of Freemasonry really kind of kept it?
See, that's a good thing. The common denominator of Freemasonry helps sort that out. It's funny because the Spanish we speak might be different. Different words for different things, or different inflections or whatnot, different accents, of course. But most of the ritual we practice in the different countries in South America, Central America, is all the ritual that came from Spain. It hasn't really changed a lot.
So you might actually be able to understand that, Pete.
I jokingly, I mean, growing up in Kennett Square with a lot of Mexican people, I can really understand Spanish, Castilian, Mexican, and a lot of like some of the South American countries.
I think he needs a petition, Dan.
There you go.
But but like the island Spanish,
that's different.
I have no idea what they're saying.
But you know what's funny? You go to a lodge in Mexico and you hear the ritual, and it's old-fashioned Spanish from Spain. Like, it'd be equivalent to like walk into a lodge here and you started to hear Shakespearean dialogue. Like it's something you've never speaking in your life normally. It's something you never like. Maybe you heard about it in school a little bit, and that's it.
So they talk with a lisp, like Barcelona.
Barcelona. Well, not the lisp, but the vosotros.
Okay.
Like all the ritual has vosotros, and I never use vosotros in Mexico.
Okay, that means like it means like you people.
Wait. The
others.
No, not you people. It's a very fancy you.
Right.
Like the French vous as opposed to toi. Yes.
Okay, now I'm out. You lost me in French.
That means 3, I think.
No, 3 would be trois with an R.
I'm confused.
There
So,
you go.
so you're trilingual.
I took some French in high school.
Okay.
What was her name? I'm sorry. Never mind.
There you go.
Oh, that is just awesome. So yeah, fans, if you're listening,
Jump on this. This is an opportunity to be the beginning of something. An aspect of Freemasonry that's growing. I mean, we hear all the time about stuff that's collapsing and we're running out of people and blah, blah, blah. Here's something that's trying to get started. So if you fit the profile, please get in touch with Dan.
I think profiling's bad.
not
Except
allowed to
now. Now profiling's good.
And like we mentioned earlier, that if you're willing to make the drive to come to some of these meetings, right? So that's kind of the catch, that if you can make these organizational meetings, that's kind of the trigger or the cue that Grand Lodge will use to say, let's do this.
Are the organizational meetings on a set night that?
That's been
this story.
Yes, that's been an issue. Our club bylaws say third Saturday of the month. But lately, like we'll have a meeting and then we'll say, okay, when's the next meeting? Which is again not good because there's no consistency. But yeah, we were trying on Saturdays just to see if we can get a lot of people there. That's been an issue with family and all that stuff. Lately, we're thinking about having maybe doing something on the 4th week because most lodges would be meeting first, second, or third week and try to, But we haven't amended the bylaws yet, so there's nothing set in stone, sadly.
And they don't have to be Pennsylvania Masons.
They do not, as long as they're a Master Mason.
Okay. That's neat.
So Baltimore, DC, Wilmington, all those areas are within a couple hours.
Yeah.
Easy train ride.
Yeah, if you're willing to travel, you're more than welcome, and you could actually be a charter member if this ever is going to happen, even if you're in a different jurisdiction. There'll be like an extra fee that Grand Lodge would charge.
Of course.
Sorry, the out-of-state Masons.
Well, we give you plural membership inside Pennsylvania.
Right.
Yeah,
It
would.
entitled to all the rights and privileges
Exactly.
of Pennsylvania Masonry.
Like what? What kind of rights do I get as a Pennsylvania? I'm missing something. Well, I can get a funeral.
Cue the crickets.
Yeah.
Chirp, 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 chirp.
No, you get a funeral, right?
Hot potato. Nobody wants to touch it.
Well, Dan, thank you so much. We really appreciate it, and hopefully, we can help. Hopefully, I would like to be
Yeah,
part.
we'll
I don't
throw
want
it
to be. I don't mean be part of the lodge, but I mean I think our show. I'd like to be part of helping.
Yeah,
this.
absolutely. If ever you
Thank
want
you.
to drop back out and say a few words and hopefully you'll be able to talk about your first official chartering meeting.
I'm hopeful, yeah.
Yeah,
I'll take you up on that.
At your next meeting, if you can get, it approved by the majority of members present, I would love to. We would air a commercial for you guys if you guys wanted to just do a little
Awesome.
pitch. We'll
Yep.
throw it on
We
the
would
show.
be happy to do that.
Thank you.
And for all you listeners out there, if whether it's you or someone you know, if you know someone who's Spanish speaking and also a Master Mason that you think might be interested in this, just let them know. Look us up on our Facebook page and drop us a note, and we will get you in touch with Dan.
Let's go to break.
Good news, everyone!
Masonic Lite News. News not fit to print.
In Masonic news today, in a cautionary letter released by the Grand Orient of Italy, it was announced that further persecution of the craft by uninformed and paranoid zealots continues in that country. Lodge minutes, membership rolls, and even the Grand Lodge's internet servers have been subpoenaed, and continued effort to vilify the Masonic fraternity have successfully distracted the citizenry from investigating the corruption inherent in the Italian government for over 2,000 years. When asked for comment, one local Mason said, well, really, he said nothing, because it's not safe to speak out. Be ever vigilant, brothers. It can happen anywhere. Siamo uniti, fratelli italiani.
So, are we still recording, Mr. Jason?
Sure.
So, basically, the RICO statute, if it was America,
That's exactly correct.
that's kind of scary.
Yeah, how does that make you feel?
Well, I mean, I feel safe in Pennsylvania because if they were to
Don't.
if they were to subpoena our records,
Well.
what were you saying, Jason? It'd be on 3.5-inch discs, and
Parchment and
Lotus Works.
yeah, it would be a district attorney's nightmare to subpoena our stuff.
But however, the point is that this is not unique to Italy. In the UK, you can't be hired as a policeman unless you disclose your Masonic affiliation, or at least that was the case. I believe there was a move to repeal that, but I'm not really sure where that stands at this point. But just, guys, we cannot take this for granted. They can take it away from us.
So, what could we do as American Freemasons? I mean, I guess we could write a letter or thoughts and prayers, kind of like nonsense. But
I don't know that there's anything we can do but be vigilant at home, because just with the last 3 years of political ridiculousness that's gone on, we could find our own country turning against us very quickly. It's happened before. It happened in the 1820s.
well, that was
almost
'cause
destroyed us.
That was that troublemaker from Lancaster.
No, it was the troublemaker in Batavia, New York, but that was a whole nother story. But
That was a whole other affair.
yeah, but the point is, we have to pay attention to our freedoms, because if we take them for granted, they will be taken from us. That's all. Done. Drop the mic.
And we're back. So this is a good episode.
Yeah, if we already thanked you.
Thanks for bringing us back, Jason.
Here to help. Yeah, just turn the knobs.
But seriously, great episode, Brother Dan. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean that's it's odd having actually a serious episode, and
Well, we made up a new word at least, diverser.
Diverser, yes. It's the word of the day.
so Jack, anything? You got some cool stuff coming up. What do you have coming up next 2 weeks?
We have coming up, what do we have? We have stated meeting at my lodge on the second Tuesday. We're having a cookout. It's strawberries, blah, blah, blah. We're giving away a whole bunch of money for scholarships for high school students going to college or continuing education of whatever sort. Also, I'm high priest in my Royal Arch chapter, and we are having a table chapter. If you are a Royal Arch Mason and are interested in coming, look us up on Eventbrite at...
What's the date of the event?
What is the date of the event?
That's a great question.
21st. It's the,
Well, so we'll have enough time if they hear the
I
episode.
believe it's the 21st. But in any case,
It's the 21st.
Go to eventbrite.com and just search for Table Chapter 2018, and it should come up. We're having a really nice dinner at the Lancaster Marriott. Tickets are $55 and include all sorts of cool stuff, including dinner with the Grand High Priest of the Royal Arch Chapter of Pennsylvania.
So yeah, the what's the name of the house that's inside of that Marriott?
It's the Montgomery House.
So yeah, there was a Civil War era home on South Queen Street. Mm-hmm. That when they built this Marriott, they just kind of built the Marriott around the house.
Yeah, it's a great gimmick, but it's a beautiful room. It's a beautiful building.
Yeah, so it's like you're in the hotel, but then you walk into a townhome and you're on the second or third floor. Mm-hmm. It's really cool.
Yep.
That's Thursday, June 21st.
21st, yes. And then we have upcoming in Ephrata an AMD, Allied Masonic Degrees in Gathering, that is also on Eventbrite.
And if you do that again, go to eventbrite.com and search for AMD In Gathering 2018. You'll find the one to be held in Ephrata at my home lodge, and we will have a couple of really cool speakers in the morning. That's open to any Master Mason. And then the afternoon works are 2 AMD degrees being conferred. So if you're interested in seeing those, more details are on the Eventbrite page. That includes a lunch, and we would love to have you there. So those are the things that I'm worrying about and losing sleep over right now.
Brother Dan, are you doing any Masonic stuff next couple weeks?
Next couple of weeks, I guess.
Come to lodge.
Yeah, coming to Lodge in Ephrata Lodge. I have a camp out with the Cub Scouts this Friday, so
Way more fun.
yep.
Have you found those tall cedars and grotto petitions I stuffed under your cell phone yet? Oh, no, okay.
No.
And Brother Jason?
I don't know. What do we got going on?
I left my phone upstairs, so I'm just going to wing it.
Well, we have a long 5th week this month, which is nice. It won't affect our release of our episodes, but there may or may not be an episode.
So this week's
between.
longer than a normal week?
There's the 5th. There's a lot of 5ths this.
Well, there's a couple on the table.
But the Castle Island Virtual Lodge
Tomorrow.
is Wednesday night on
Was it Wednesday?
the 30th.
I received an invite.
Yeah.
I'm
So
going.
that would have already happened. So maybe we'll talk about that. Also in June 19th, there's a member soon to get his Royal Arch degree as a member of Chapter 43, but we're sending him to Philadelphia. So a handful of us have committed to going to Philadelphia on June 19th. So if anybody would like to go that is allowed to see the Royal Arch degree, we'd be happy to carpool. And
Now stop for a moment
Yeah.
and let that sink in. You'll be witnessing the Royal Arch degree
in Philadelphia.
at the Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania. I am relatively certain they have all the equipment to do it right. So that will be a very cool degree.
So if you are from this area and would like to go, or if you're a listener from Philadelphia, I will be there along with our soon-to-be companion, Jim, and whoever else would like to go. And I think that's about it. Stated meetings, extra meetings, normal stuff. Lodge 43's official visitation of the District Deputy Grand Master is this month, and that's about it. And there's also, this won't be until July, but July 21st, there is going to be a Masonic skydiving event. So Brother George Grove III, we've talked about George Grove Sr., but George Grove III, his son, is an avid skydiver, and his skydiving group will be hosting a Masonic
Are they conferring the degree on the way down?
Yes. Yeah.
It's a short degree.
Well, it's very short. So they're going to do the short third. And
It sounds like this.
And I did ask.
220 pounds is the limit.
So that's going to eliminate 85% of Freemasons.
Right.
But
Exactly.
you can go and you can participate on the ground festivities. And
Exactly.
picnic
So
and
there's-
all that kind of good stuff.
there's
So
gonna be some
reason to go
picnicking.
regardless. Yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be some picnicking. We're trying to get.
I'm good at that.
We're hoping to get the Bishop's View. That's the local Masonic chicken smoker guy, the Brother Troy, bring out his big chicken smoker out, and they're going to do I think they're going to do a Masonic jumping with the.
Jumping with a chicken?
Jumping with
It's
the
like
chicken.
a WKRP episode.
Yeah, there you go.
No, jumping with doing a flag jump with a Masonic flag and an American flag and smoke chicken.
Cool.
Smoked chicken.
Just like Colorado.
That was supposed to be a nice plug, but it just kind of went to hell.
Think about where you are.
But if you would like to skydive, contact us and we can get you in touch with the skydiving troop. It's $220 to jump.
It's $220 and 230 pounds. They're the two numbers
No,
you got to worry about.
220, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And that's because it's tandem, right? So you and I could probably jump by ourselves, but we don't want.
We don't have those skills.
Right.
Okay.
So last thing to cut in, I will be conferring a third degree on June 14th at Ephrata Lodge.
And I don't know we're June in Pennsylvania kicks off strawberry season. Every single lodge has strawberry night. And it's really, I don't know. I like strawberries. And then a lot of them are from the Masonic farm market in Elizabethtown.
Yep.
So they're locally grown. Let me check. Fresas.
Yes.
There we go. Yeah, strawberries, fresas.
Oh, not
So Larry couldn't call back because he was having
A horse
salmon
incident?
and fresh corn.
that sounds horrible.
Just, he had to tell me that. All right.
So,
So
yeah.
we don't have Larry to take us out. So cue the chickens and run
buck.
the reruns.
Oh, I have one more thing.
What? No, you don't.
I do.
What?
I'm trying to think the dates, but in the next couple weeks, I will be going to Supreme Council in Indianapolis, Indiana, to vote no on everything.
Vote no.
That's what we're going to do
Vote no. Vote now.
for Grotto. All right, everybody. So, Larry, take us out of here.
Chickens and lawyers and
Boom, boom, and Pash. And
And
boom,
Phil McCracken and blah, blah, blah.
good night, everybody.
Seymour Butts.
this is Jason Lewis.
Pete Ruggieri.
Jack Harley and
Dan Madrigal.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.